Eala's next opponent will be Amanda Anisimova. The Eala Anisimova match will be an absolute blockbuster.
The Cincinnati Open morning, 11 a.m. Ohio time. On one side of the net stands world number 10, Amanda Anisimova, a U.S. Open finalist just 11 months ago. Across from her is a 21-year-old left-hander from Manila named Eala, ranked number 20 in the world, with a Filipino flag on her chest that is about to turn this Midwestern hardcourt into the kind of stage the WTA has quietly labeled box office. Neither player has ever faced the other in a competitive match. Zero, not a single head-to-head meeting. And somehow the tennis world is already buzzing about what could happen when that number finally changes. Rewind 24 hours. Yesterday, August 15th, Eala walked off this same court after taking down Elena Gabriela Ruse 6-1, 3-0 before Ruse retired because of a right leg injury. Afterward, in the press room, reporters pushed her about the uncomfortable way the match ended. Her response was almost as dismissive.
This, I think, number one priority for everybody. So hope she gets better soon.
She said plainly that there was no reason to turn it into something bigger than it was, and certainly nothing serious enough to make her rethink the way she plays. That is exactly the mindset she's carrying into tomorrow. But there is one detail that almost nobody seems to be talking about. Eala did not even play in Cincinnati last year because she was dealing with a shoulder injury.
Filipino tennis sensation Eala is set to skip the upcoming Cincinnati Open from a shoulder injury.
She has no ranking points to defend this week, which means the player standing in her way has far more at stake, while Eala has nothing but room to climb. Amanda Anisimova is not simply a top 10 name on paper. Earlier this year, she reached as high as number 3 in the world. She made the Wimbledon final in 2025, then followed that by reaching another Grand Slam final at the US Open just 8 weeks later. She has already reached the place Eala is chasing, and she has done it twice within a span of only 13 months. On paper, this looks like a mismatch, a proven Grand Slam finalist against a player still searching for her first round of 16 appearance at a WTA 1000 event. But paper is not the reason the WTA's own accounts are calling this match box office. Paper is not why the quiet word spreading around the draw is shock. Because once you take a closer look at Anisimova's last couple of weeks, that picture starts to break apart. And Eala has just done something that changes every assumption about what a 21-year-old from the Philippines can accomplish on a hard court. Start with the run Eala has brought into Ohio. 7 wins and only 1 loss on North American hard courts this summer. Her first WTA singles title came in Washington on August 3rd, and that championship did not come through an easy draw. She earned it in a 3-set final against Jessica Pegula, the world number 3, winning 4-6, 6-4, 6-0. Read that final set one more time. 6-love against the top 3 player in a final during the American hard court swing, leading directly into the US Open. Now put Anisimova's recent results next to that. On August 10th, while facing Alina Vidlina in the round of 16 in Montreal, Anisimova broke down in tears during the changeover on live television and eventually lost 6-2, 6-4. Afterward, she spoke about feeling sick over not being able to give everything she had. That moment has been replayed throughout tennis media ever since. The world number 10 visibly cracking during the exact stretch of the season when the US Open Series is reaching its peak. Now compare their paths side by side. One player is arriving with serious momentum while the other is coming in with her mental armor visibly damaged. Then there is the statistic that completely changes the tactical picture for tomorrow. Zero previous meetings between them. Anisimova has no match footage experience against Eala's left-handed serve in a competitive setting. She has no built-in memory of how to deal with that inside-in forehand. She has never rehearsed against the flat, early striking game Eala brought against Iga at Wimbledon only weeks ago when she stunned the defending champion 7-6, 6-2. And Eala has no personal history against Anisimova's flat backhand either. In a sport where rhythm, repetition, and familiarity can make such a huge difference, 2 players arriving without any previous matchup history is not just a formality. It is a coin toss disguised as a difference in ranking. Filipino fans have been saying this since Wimbledon, arguing that the number beside Eala's name does not fully represent the player she has become on court. Look at what she has done over the past 28 days and try telling them they were wrong. A Grand Slam 4th round, her first WTA title, and a world number 3 taken apart in a final set. That is not empty hype, that is evidence. And then Anisimova, the central figure on the other side of tomorrow's story, made things even more interesting with her own words. During her post-match press conference on August 15th, she was asked about the Filipina waiting for her in the third round. She said, quote, "I haven't played Miss Eala before, and she's been having such an incredible season, incredible year, very great player with a lot of fans. I'm really looking forward to that. I know it's probably going to be a very packed stadium." A world number 10 and two-time Grand Slam finalist is not exactly expected to bring up her opponent's fan base before a third-round match. Yet she did. She is already picturing those Filipino flags filling the stands. The battle for the crowd may already be decided before either player hits the opening serve. But enough about the players and their comments. Bring in the man whose opinion carries serious weight in this sport. Greg Rusedski reached number 4 in the world during his playing career. He stepped onto the US Open final court in 1997. For the last 2 decades, he has worked as one of Sky Sports' leading tennis analysts, identifying breakthroughs before they become obvious and studying young players for a living. When he discussed the Cincinnati draw with Tennis 365 this month, he did not hold back. He singled out Eala as the player to watch in Cincinnati. And his reasoning focused on the exact detail many casual viewers have overlooked. Because Eala had no points to defend after missing last year's tournament with a shoulder injury, every victory this week pushes her further toward the top 20. That is not an analyst desperately searching for a storyline. That is a Grand Slam finalist pointing the tennis world toward the player he believes deserves attention. And when the WTA's own social media team publicly describes the matchup as box office alongside him, the governing body is doing something it does not often do for a young player from outside the sport's traditional powerhouses. It is placing real institutional attention behind her name. Now step back from tomorrow's opening toss. The US Open main draw begins August 24th. ESPN has already presented Cincinnati as Eala's final preparation before New York, a serious test at exactly the level she could face at Flushing Meadows. If she gets through Anisimova, she could face Coco Gauff or another seeded opponent in the round of 16, potentially on the same court and under the same cameras just 1 week before the biggest Grand Slam stage of her career. The impact goes beyond the scoreboard. No Filipina and only a very small number of Southeast Asian singles players in tennis history has ever reached the round of 16 at the Cincinnati Open. A victory tomorrow would be more than another result. It would be a signal that broadcasters and sponsors across the region are already paying attention. It would tell the next generation of players in Manila, in Cebu, in Davao, that the ceiling they once saw is no longer fixed. And it would tell tournament directors from Flushing Meadows to Beijing that the audience surrounding Alex Eala is not just passionate, but commercially powerful, and that it may have finally found its face. The projected next wave of top 10 players for late 2026 is being rewritten in real time. Anisimova is showing cracks. Eala is moving upward. Tomorrow at 11 a.m. Ohio time, those two paths finally collide, but do not mistake this for a simple fairy tale. On July 7th at Wimbledon, Eala had the advantage against Jasmine Paolini in the 4th round before losing 4-6, 6-4, 3-6. It was the kind of heartbreaking defeat that should have been crushing for the young player, the first major heartbreak of her Grand Slam journey. She disappeared from social media for several days. Then she flew to Washington. Just 27 days after that loss to Paolini, she was holding her first WTA trophy, having defeated the world number 3 in a 3-set final that echoed the pattern of the Paolini match while completely changing the ending. 27 days from heartbreak to history, that is the player Anisimova is about to face tomorrow. So go back to the beginning. 0 head-to-head meetings, no matchup history, no established rhythm, and no previous rehearsal. A world number 10 is already talking about a packed stadium filled with Filipino flags waiting for her. Eala has 0 ranking points to defend, meaning the only direction available is upward. Just 27 days separate a painful Wimbledon loss from a first WTA title on American soil, and now a Grand Slam finalist and respected commentator has already named her the player to watch in Cincinnati before tomorrow's match has even begun. The truth is simple, and it may be uncomfortable for anyone who still wants to describe this as nothing more than an upset opportunity. Eala does not need to shock the WTA tomorrow. The WTA is already watching her, and Amanda Anisimova has already said the quiet part out loud. So here's the question worth debating. Does this finish in straight sets? Does it go the distance? Or does Anisimova's experience finally shut the door? And can Eala win the first match of her career against a top 10 opponent on a WTA 1000 court? Put your predicted scoreline in the comments and make your call before the opening ball is struck. If you want your prediction on the record before 11 a.m., Ohio time, before the world number 10 meets the 21-year-old from Manila for the very first time, subscribe now and leave your prediction in the comments. Winners will get to say they saw it coming. Everyone else gets to start arguing for the rematch.